Martin, also known as Doc Marty. Welcome to the Potential is Human podcast. I'm super
Thanks.
stoked to be chatting to you this morning. Tell us where
Okay.
you are. How has your day started? What's happening in your world?
So I'm at my home right now, and I don't see formally. I don't see patients on a Wednesday, so I do all my other stuff and things like this. And had a good cup of coffee, and then I thought, okay, let me get my little mini studio ready and sorted out. And then, as luck would have it, like my cats just started having a huge fight outside. And as I sat down and I just WhatsApped you and said, okay, I'm ready to go, I looked to my left and my heater's run out of gas. So I'm like, really? Now my room's starting to get cold. So I had to quickly run and get a little electric heater and plug that in. I was like, as much as we could do these informal type of talks, there's still the sense of this formality, the nerves that kind of kick in. So yeah, but it's lucky to be here. Let's chat.
I love it how, like, just when we think we've got this wrapped right, how many times have we done a podcast? How many times have you spoken
Yeah,
to someone? As you say, life hands us something just to humble us and keep us in check.
yeah, always. You can't get lazy, particularly in this space. Like you're not allowed to just. It's easy to slip the mind and kind of, like I said, get comfortable, get lazy. But you're always on your toes, and then, I think for me, it's often the excitement, the nervousness of putting yourself out there, just saying, yeah, I'm going to go chat to somebody now in a public realm and open myself up to judgment and open myself up to some like criticisms and stuff like that. That leaves you always a little bit nervous going, what should we talk about? Like you and I said, we're just going to fly off the cuff and have a good discussion today.
Yeah.
And I actually like open-ended convos. I don't particularly like having to stick to a topic. Maybe it's my ADD brain that loves to be scattered around.
Yeah, likewise. I love the fact that it's not, formal and scripted. This is just us, two individuals showing up. And I've been following you for years now, on your private social media platforms. I've also seen your development of your journey. I love your energy. You don't hold back that, like, Marty's like all over the place, ADD, you own it. Like, tell us a little bit about that and how you've managed to, like, understand that way of living in this reality.
Yeah, I was thinking recently, I was like, there's a specific kind of person, and I don't, it's not that I'd sit there ever pondering on people I don't like, but there's a certain quality of people
Mm,
that I don't like, and it's people that are
mm,
disingenuous. And I was just trying to think, like, what is it that I try to embody on my social media is I'm genuine, and I'm not going to put out a post just for the sake of likes or just to get attention. And I've been recommended by some social media influencers to change my direction, change the way I speak, and you might cause offense. And I'm like, well, isn't that what the world needs? Like, surely we've got to all sit there and say, well, this is me. I'm going to be a good friend of mine always calls me Dr. Dick, and he's like, yeah, because you're a
okay.
dick. And I said, you know what? If I'm ever a dick, it comes from a place of love. And it's
Mm,
me trying to just get real with you. If I have an example, there was a client who came to see me a while ago, and it was a husband and wife, and their son was really unwell, really sick, and had terrible aches and pains everywhere. And I said to the family, I said, look, what we've got to deal with here is not how much money we're going to spend rubbing his back and getting his muscles right. It's clearly the diet that you guys are feeding your child, because all three of them were diabetic. I diagnosed him as
mm.
diabetic because I sent him for the blood tests. I was like, until we start to really delve in here and really fix what's causing this issue, I can just rub your back, take your money, and you're never going to get anywhere. So I had to and I was quite stern with them, almost into the point of saying, this is actually abuse. You're abusing this kid by just feeding him
Mm.
poison the whole time. And then you say, let's take you to the doctor to get your aches and pains gone. Sometimes I have to be honest with people, and it hurts. But it comes from a place of love. And the last I heard that family, after I gave them all a tongue lashing, is that they've like lost 10 kilos each and really transformed. And maybe spanking the child is such a bad thing. But I do get into trouble sometimes. Facebook has kicked me off now 3 or 4 times, given me warnings. Instagram's given me warnings. So I can't even share some of the stuff that I really want to. And that's why I opened up a Telegram channel and was like, well, I'm not. Truth doesn't ever fear investigation. So if somebody worries about me investigating something and shuts me off, I go, what's going on there? Let's look there a little bit. So yeah, I've gotten into a little bit of trouble on the social media. I've had to tone it down. There's certain topics we can't even mention on this podcast, and you go straight into like a tick button on YouTube or on social medias that they now start watching you. So we won't even speak of those topics and just stay away from them for today. I don't want to get into
I'm
more
with you, and
trouble.
I'm fascinated. Listen, this is an open space. If we get in trouble together, perhaps we're doing something right. So tell
Yeah.
people, Doc, what you do. They hear clients, you're talking about your clients and, the young boy who came to you. Tell people what you do in terms of if somebody wanted to visit you, what is your profession?
So I'm by profession, I'm a chiropractor, and I've been in practice since 2004 and very much interested in the world of functional medicines. Functional medicine is really using diet, lifestyle, nutraceuticals, nutrition to try and optimize human function rather than treat disease. And, I built a clinic up around that approach. And I've just always been really fascinated in human health. And the more I learn, the less I know. And there's a saying that says today's genius is tomorrow's fool. And it's like every week I go, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I've got so much to learn. I've got so much to learn. I've got so much to learn. And trying to optimize that all the time because, I don't enjoy doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. So I want to try and adapt and learn. But in the realm of my practice or as a profession, I may not like. I don't know if you've seen these Instagram and TikTok videos where they're cracking people and they've got like 2 million followers. And South African chiropractors
Yeah.
aren't allowed to do that. So we're not allowed to promote ourselves online or so that's why you'll see I hardly ever talk about chiropractic or my profession. And I can understand it. It somehow cheapens the profession. I've seen some stuff on YouTube where I watch chiropractors doing things that I go, how are you in practice? Like, how is your insurance covering you? I totally understand that, and I abide by the rules of the association. So I don't do any of the stuff that attracts attention from my official practice perspective. So I think I've gained more followers through just kind of not always following the mainstream narrative and questioning things. I think that's where a lot of people have kind of gotten to know me.
Yeah, a lot of your videos that I do see, I'm drawn in by the level of your honesty. It can be direct, very much needed, I believe, in today's society. And as you say, you find yourself getting in trouble for that to the degree that some of your stuff has been removed. You've opened a Telegram channel, which I'm also part of. Tell people about your Telegram platform in the way that we can speak about it in the context of this podcast.
Yeah, so on Telegram, I can share the stuff like doctors that are being banned, like people that literally have been wiped off of social media. Something that I thought was unbelievable during the pandemic was just how all of a sudden stuff that I was posting was just being blocked and censored. And I was watching news channels on a regular basis on YouTube by alternative media, guys that are just kind of looking at the story going, hold on, some things aren't adding up here. And then I'd log on the next day, try and find them, and they were gone. And it just, I was like, hold on a sec, what the heck is going on here? Like everyone I'm following is just being taken out. The narrative's being wiped out. And I remember in 2020, I made a post. I said, guys, it's 2020. Welcome to 2020. We've all got 2020 vision. What's your vision for the future? And then we got hit with the pandemic. And I was just like, maybe there was truth in my vision, this saying, it was a 2020 vision. I think we've seen a lot of key players in the world having to pop their head out of the grass. The snakes have had to stand up and look around, and we've been able to see them. If you start looking at like our global leaders, things don't add up, things don't make sense. And the more we look at them critically, it seems like this big family, this big group that want to get together and kind of quash or suppress anyone who doesn't go with the narrative. And I can't share any of that stuff. I can share it on Telegram. It doesn't necessarily mean that I believe in what these people are saying, but I think giving a platform to people that are being suppressed, let them be heard. Just let people be heard. I guess so. That's why I think if they take Telegram away from us, then we'll find another one, find another way to connect.
Yeah. There's that rebel undertone, right? Not to cause destruction and damage in society, but as you say, like to be able to share our truth and not let that be taken away from us. And it's crazy, like to hear that some of your stuff has been removed, professionals that just deleted in a flash, right?
Very, very worrying.
Yeah. So when you find yourself in part of these communities, one of the things that I'm fascinated by is, right, you then open a door for all sorts of narrative, like on your Telegram. From your side, how do you maintain your position of power and stand in what you believe while still being able to welcome like all sorts of discussion in a group, because your energy and awareness is then being pulled into perhaps discussion that isn't relevant or necessary for you on your Telegram channel?
Yeah, I don't really entertain everybody that has conversation on there. I think it's free speech, wherever. We've had one guy, I did remove one guy who was very clearly just there to make trouble. It was completely just a troll. And you're like, well, that's not really, as much as I say everyone's welcome, not everyone's welcome if that's your game. If your game is there to incite, agitate, to irritate, and that's the only purpose. Like, I'm happy with general inquisition, where you say, like, listen, I've got a bit of a problem with what that doctor said because but that's not somebody who's just being, maybe the word's belligerent, you're just looking for shit. Like, and I think some of the conversations that I've been observing with these doctors, or well respected, that are being kicked out, is they can still have intelligent conversation. They're not getting too emotional and going, well, you're an idiot. Like, you've lost argument when you get emotional. You've got to be able to sit there and say, all right, well, let's weigh up the truths over here. So, it's been what a time to be alive.
You can say that again, right? When people are like in those kind of discussions and in these groups where there's, I mean, I want to just say it's very easy, despite on mainstream platforms, like you can't necessarily what you want to say, but in 2022, it's very easy for human beings to just pick up a phone, get on their computer and share shit, like say whatever they want to say with very little thought process behind what we're sharing, to jump into a Telegram group and like totally share your view without having the ability or the awareness to maybe accept someone else's view. So it's so easy these days to just have a say. And I guess sometimes that can get you a little bit burnt in terms of not having the awareness or the thought process behind what it is you're wanting to share. So I think it's fantastic that you've created a space for people to come together. I think it's more fantastic that it was off of the back of you being banned in certain ways on mainstream social media. But that aside, when I connect with people on these podcasts, I'm so passionate about expressions of human potential. We've all been on our journeys. I'm looking at you, another fraction of myself who's doing his journey, passionate about what he does. Why are you so passionate about chiropractics and the other things that you consider uplifting for you?
Sure. I've often thought of that, and I was like, why do I love being a chiropractor? So like, what's so great about cracking necks and cracking spines? And like, what's the deal? I mean, it's a freaking great skill to have, and it's something I love dearly. With one day I drove past work on the way home from a weekend away. I drove past my offices on the way home. It's like, oh, I'm looking forward to being at work tomorrow. And I just thought, geez, hold on a second, yeah. How many people in the world look forward to going to work on Monday morning? And I was like, and I kind of just caught myself in that moment. And I went, what am I looking forward to? Like, what's the deal? So I pondered it for a while and I didn't really get to an answer. And that Monday morning, a patient walked in. I came into my office and asked him, so, how are you doing? And she kind of lit up. She went, Doc, since your treatment, I haven't had a single headache. And I just got the sense of like, that was my heroine for the day. I was like, that's so nice. And I was like, and in that moment, that's why I do it. That's why I do it, because there's nothing better just seeing other people suffering diminished from something you happen to do. And I was like, okay, maybe that's my mission here. It's like to ease unnecessary suffering. You know, I used to always be like, no, I'm born to be a chiropractor. But why? What's your why? What's the why? And I think that's been driving a lot of my next endeavors, is just saying, how do we minimize suffering, especially unnecessary suffering? Because there is some suffering that is necessary. And I think I'm pretty sure I saw a post of yours that you attended Vipassana.
Correct.
Not that
I
long
believe
ago.
you've done that as well.
Yeah, I've done 2 of them, 3 of them. And I mean, a Vipassana teaches you about suffering. And
yeah.
I don't think people even know. I don't think you know until you're there. I mean, what was your experience on the Vipassana?
Yeah, 100%. Get very, very comfortable with what suffering actually graces us with, right? I think so many people who I do talk to about 10 days of silence. And when you and I say silence, we mean silence, like no cell phones, no pens, no books, no writing, no communication, no eye contact. I mean, eye contact is something that is almost like programmed into us in society, like to look at someone in the eyes and connect with them, right? And now you can't even do that in this 10-day silent retreat. But Doc, I remember very clearly going in there and being like, cool, I'm going to sit for 10 days. I'm not going to move. Whatever comes at me, bring it on, you know. And I now see even more clearly. And even then on the meditation retreat, I see how my ego just wanted to blast through whatever it thought it could blast through. And funnily so, come day 4 of sitting in like the perfect lotus meditation pose, I couldn't take the pain anymore. I can only describe it as having like screwdrivers pushed into my hip flexors. And I eventually asked the teacher if we could chat. And I said to the teacher, I'm in so much pain sitting there. Is that what this is all about? Like, how do you sit through something like this? And he just looks at me and in one sentence says, why do you want to hurt yourself? And I was like, shit. He said, if you're in pain, just move a little bit. You don't have to be here and hurt yourself. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone. And that was the end of our meeting and our interaction. And thereafter, I got the message, right? But it brings up so much more than just physical pain. I sat through thoughts which there was no way that I could be thinking of those things in the context of what I was doing. I don't know if you found the same, right? So thought forms and concepts being offered that were so far out from what I was doing that I was like, how? How does this arrive in the present moment of a meditation retreat? And there were so many highs and so many lows. It got better. I remember day 7 also being a whack. Like I was emotional and I was dealing with a whole bunch of stuff, but managed to get through the 10 days, which not everyone does, and that's also okay. But to go through a profound journey for 10 days on your own is quite something. How did you find it, and what was that first experience? You say you've done 3. What was the first one like, if you can recall?
I did my first one with Rob Nairn, and that was a 10-day, and I left on day 6 or 7. And it wasn't a
Okay.
Vipassana, it was just a silent retreat, a little bit of a different structure. So when I spoke to my good friend Craig, he said, Marty, come do a Vipassana. He's done like 10. And he said, come do a Vipassana. I just went, okay, cool, let's do this. Let's jump in. And I didn't really investigate it. I didn't get online. I didn't really know what I was in for. And I remember arriving there, and I've been kind of conditioned into arriving in hotel rooms, seeing a nice bed, nice furniture. And I arrived there going, it's quite basic with a mattress and like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
sheet. And I didn't bring any blankets with. So I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I didn't know I have to bring blankets here. And I came in a little bit unprepared. And I remember going, okay, well, here's my room, and it's actually decent. It's okay. And immediately popped into my head of the story of Jesus, and being like, hey, Jesus didn't require big, fluffy
Wow.
beds. Like, it's the simple life here. And that's what you're coming to do. You're coming to meet that type of personage, that personality that you're like, okay, I want to tap into whatever it is they tapped into. I'd like to start discovering that within myself. And I was like, okay, this is about bringing your ego back down to 0 point. So the room's actually not that bad when you think about it. It's just I was so conditioned into hotel rooms, beautiful views, although the views there are spectacular. And
Mm.
I've walked in, I looked at the timetable, which I also didn't investigate. And I looked at the timetable, and it's like, okay, wake up call, I think it's 4 o'clock, 4:30 to 6:30, meditate. And then it was almost
Yeah.
every hour on the hour, it just said, at 9 o'clock, you're going to meditate for an hour. And you go, okay, cool. What am I going to do after that? And it goes, well, you're going to meditate another hour. And then as you work your way through the day, you go, my gosh, this is 10 and a half hours a day of meditation.
Mm.
It's like, what? What have I done? What have I signed up for? I mean, it's a comrade's marathon for your mind every day for 10 days. And I thought, okay, I'm in the deep end, and let's do it. I'm not a quitter. I'll jump in. I'll say, right, let's go. And same with you. It was grueling. You don't realize how much we move. Even while I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm moving around and animating myself. Now all of a sudden you get told, right, so don't move at all. And
Yeah.
this, I always find it so fascinating. The second the guy says, cool, let's begin the meditation. As you start going quiet, you get an itch right here. It's like,
Mm.
really? You couldn't have itched 20
Mm.
seconds ago when I was allowed to scratch you. And now you itch. One thing that's just sat with me, the one lecture we heard, he said,
Yeah.
don't worry, no itch is eternal. So
Yeah.
just sit with it and just observe it. And true spot, that itch comes and then it goes. You're like,
Mm.
okay. So yeah, and then the journey with pain, like being able to experience screwdrivers shoved into your hip flexors. Like mine was knee pain. I
Sheesh.
just the knee pain was indescribable. And then observing my inner child come out at times. I was like, okay, this is so
Mm.
sore. I really need to move. I think I'm going to start crying. And there were times when I watched my lip kind of go, and
Yeah.
I noticed, oh, wow, I'm going to start crying now. I was like, Marting Krüger, you're an adult. What are you doing? And going, okay, hold on a sec. Who just said that? Like, was that my mother? Was that my brother? And I noticed all
Mm.
programs
Mm.
trying to get me out of pain. It was the sense of like, here's pain. What are you going to do to get out of it? And I noticed these childhood programs coming up and realized, oh, when my brother used to bully me, I would cry. And then mom would come rescue me. And I noticed these programs coming up from my childhood, kind of going, that's how you'll get out of this pain. You'll get out. And then
Yes.
with the meditation, you just sit and observe it. And eventually the pain the minute you accept it completely, like truly just accept it, it dissolves.
Mm.
And you
Equanimity,
kind of
right?
go, yeah, it's like, it's not pain, it's a sensation that I'm feeling, and I'll dive in and be like, okay, what are my knees? What is this right now? And I was like, well, this is interesting. This is hot and cold at the same time, and it feels like metal
Mm.
bending, but I'm telling myself it's pain. And there was this reprogramming of like, just accept that your knee right now is hot and cold and feels like metal bending, and that it's not painful and you don't need to run away from anything. And just things would shift in me, and I'd go, that's interesting. And like, oh, wow, okay. And it would dissolve. This unbelievable thing
incredible.
of acceptance. Just accept. And just observe. Don't make your mind up about it. Don't call whatever that sensation is pain, because that was just a construct of mine saying, oh, my knees are in pain. And once I broke through that, there was real magic there that happened, but it doesn't come easy, It's
Did you manage to sit through? Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, holy shit, like I have a lot of respect for the fact that you got to sit through that knee. Did you sit through the knee pain without any adjustments, without any need for relief?
I sat.
Because that's immense.
I don't think there's a hero badge though.
No.
I ended up actually, like your teacher said to you, why do you want to hurt yourself? And I ended up with quite irritated knees for quite a while afterwards. I thought, okay, what's the lesson here? There's no ego here, and hurting yourself is not what this is about. This is just about learning to sit and be still, which were really the teachings of Christ. Sit, be still, know that I am God. And a lot of people that I speak to, when I tell them about the story, is that I was like, this is the crux of Christianity here, but you need to sit and be still. Nobody wants to do that. They just want to go, I've been saved by Jesus, but he said, sit and be still. And
profound.
Yeah, it's a magnificent experience. What I did love with the Vipassana meditation was how non-sectarian it is. It just, he sits there and he says, look, if you are a Muslim or a Hindu or a atheist or a Christian, this is applicable to everybody that has a mind. So if you can sit and think about something right now and you go, okay, I think of an apple, and you see a picture of an apple, you have a mind. And all of us share this. So we all have this incredible tool called the mind, and we know nothing about it, zero about it. And I think that a segue into its discovery is sit, be still, and then just see what comes up. And I know you must have had exactly the same as me with this mind, this monkey mind. It just goes, and it doesn't shut up eventually, but it does eventually.
Yeah. And so how beautiful is it when you notice that's slowing down, right? When you, like you say, eventually it does start to shut up and slow down. I know for me it's almost indescribable in this kind of conversation. Like, what would it be like for the mind to slow down? And for I noticed the property, Martin, like the vibrance of the environment that we're in at that center, like the color. And just because my mind was more settled and there was a stillness to how I was moving around the property, that by day 7, certainly all the way through 10 and 11, everything just was bursting with color, and I was seeing things that I never really would have seen before, maybe the detail of it. And that for me was that understanding that I've quietened inwardly, and now I'm actually seeing reality differently.
Yeah. Yeah, this incredible journey of imagine you didn't have to worry about accommodation, food. You take a vow of no sexual activities. So you're taking away a lot of these things that we've got in society, and you go, okay, now who's left? Who's left? What if Martin, don't worry about your career, your family, about money, about food, nothing. Let's just see what's left over there. And the results might surprise you a little bit, because some of the stuff that comes up in your head it's profound. You go, wow, I think of money a lot, for example, or fame. I think of success. You're like, okay, what's that about? And you start digging deeper, and you go, oh wow, as a kid, I felt very poor because my family wasn't wealthy, and that's why I really want wealth. It's because I'm actually still unhappy with who I was as a person, as a kid. And you go through these realizations as the 10 days go on. And then here's the best lesson is you have these realizations and you can't share them with anyone. It's like, and it teaches your ego again. It's like, guess what? You've had a
Yeah.
beautiful moment. You had the most, you saw God. Don't tell anyone.
Yes.
That's like, yeah, that was also interesting. Learning to just shut up. Just shut up. Fascinating.
You know, people watching this and people who will listen to this, I really am glad you mentioned how like everyone's welcome at this experience or this retreat center, right? Regardless of race, regardless of religion, because there's a context and a way that meditation can be perceived. Like immediately it's like, okay, that's more of like a Buddhist or a spiritual approach, and that's not for me. What us two are actually talking about is remove even those labels and layers that you have and ask yourself, can you go and sit still in silence for 10 days in an environment which is perfectly catered for you to be safe, to be held, to do your thing without any interruption? And if you believe you can go do it, or you're being called to go and experience it, then go without any prejudices around what the center's about, because it really does welcome all people.
Yeah, there've been quite a few of my like staunch Christian friends who kind of look at me and go, "Hey, what's this about?" You know, and I'm like, guys, we all made of the same stuff, you know, and if we can just try to get rid of some of those filters, you know, when they're at the center, they do speak of the Buddha a lot, and it's because this was a method that he taught 2,000 years ago, and he was running schools like this 2,000 years ago, you know, and 2,000 years ago they were human beings and they had a mind, and their mind was like that of a monkey, in that it was like very jittery and jumps around like crazy. And the Buddhist teachings were all about saying, let's fix this nature that we have in the mind. You know, and I don't know how we can demonize that and go, yeah, but I'm Christian. That's bad. That's not, you shouldn't look at that. Well, you have a mind. Can you sit and be still for 5 minutes? Well, why not just spend a little bit of time learning about it? We look at what mental illnesses have, like mental illness on this planet. I think yesterday I saw a post. 1 billion people have got mental illness on this planet, and we're trying to fix something which is an etheric space, mental images with chemicals. You know, like, well, maybe we just need to learn to sit and be still. And that's why I'm such a big fan of prayer. I think prayer is a beautiful way to also just sit there and say, okay, well, if you don't resonate with these principles, maybe just sit and pray. You know, spend 20 minutes a day praying in prayer. Yeah. What a journey.
Stillness can look, what a journey. Let's go there. I'm intrigued and curious about your journey of, let's call it expansion, awakening, transformation. What has it been like for you, and how did this all play out from maybe a younger version of Martin to the Martin now who is, he's more aware, and he has a perspective and an outlook on his life that could be different to a lot of other people. What was growing up like? What challenges did you have to face that resulted in your awakening, and how did you get here?
Sure. I don't know about an awakening, but like maybe just like my eyelid is going this open on the scale of how awake we could be. When I was 15 years old, I was electrocuted along with my best friend, and we were trying to get some chakra sticks off of a cable at his house. Turns out that cable was actually a power line, and I went and held the ladder when he went up, and as he got close to it, it went made this noise. I said to him, no, this is not a good idea. Come down. And the gardener who was there at the time said, no, don't worry, I'll get up. And he tried to reach and he couldn't get there. And he said, don't stress, I'll go get the pole out of the swimming pool. It turns out that pole was aluminium. So Paul and I were holding the ladder, and the gardener went up and tried to get these chopsticks off, and there was just this massive explosion. It was like, boom. In that moment in time, completely stood still. And I remember making eye contact with my friend Paul, kind of both looking at each other going, we're in shit. Like we fucked up, yeah. And I remember falling backwards, it's weird. Time just completely stood still and kind of looked at each other and then Paul closed his eyes. I fell backwards, was completely blown out of my body. Where I remember looking at my hands going like this, going, okay, I've lost my arms. My arms are gone, my arms are gone, my arms are gone, my arms are gone.
It's
I looked
crazy.
up like this and saw that my body was kind of distorted and contorted, lying like this on the floor. And I looked up and I thought, okay, my feet are on fire, my feet are on fire. And I managed to get up and realized, okay, we've been electrocuted. I need to get into water because my hands and feet are on fire. And the gardener was on all this time I was screaming like crazy. The gardener was on my
Yeah.
right hand side and he was physically on fire, but I couldn't comprehend really what was going on. Just looked at him going, oh geez, we're in trouble now. And I remember seeing Paul. Paul passed away immediately. And I kind of like stumbled to the swimming pool. And by the time I remember putting my hands and feet in the water so that my hands and feet would stop burning, because the electricity traveled through my hands and down into the floor through my feet. By then, the ambulance had already arrived and they were trying to resuscitate Paul, and they must have spent 40 minutes, 50 minutes on him, just witnessing all of this and how we went from playing in the garden to your best friend. Paul and I were inseparable. It's like my brother lying in front of you being resuscitated and then tragically passing away that day. I think that was an enormous wake-up call for me in so many ways. One was I recognized that when I was blown out of my body that Martin isn't a body. And I exist in a different state, but I've kind of occupied this flesh suit that I walk around in. You know, that was a big one for me. As a little kid, you don't know anything about spirituality and spirit and soul and God. Like, you're very naive to all of this. There was this moment of like, hey, you're not a body. Realize that. It was like, okay, wow, this is a big one. And then I had quite the journey with my burns. I was burnt on my hands and feet, 3rd degree. And one of the burns on my big toe on the left-hand side started to go necrotic. So the tissue started to rot and it kind of went like a black gray color. So we went to the doctors and they said, listen, you're going to have a skin graft. You're going to pull skin off your buttock and you're probably going to lose the tendons in your big toe, possibly lose your big toe. We're going to scrape it, debride it, put a skin graft on, see if we can get it sorted out. And I was booked in for surgery. That was about 2 weeks after the burn because they were trying to see how deep it was. And I remember my mom walking into the hospital saying, we're going to go get another opinion. We want to just try this out. And much to the dismay of the doctor who was on duty, we went to go see a homeopath. This homeopath I'll never forget. We were in an office and she unraveled the bandages, and when she kind of saw my foot, she went, it didn't leave us with much confidence. It was like, okay, hold on. This lady got rattled by this. But then she pulled out a picture album of a spider bite that she suffered from, that she cured with her homeopathic remedies that looked even worse than my wounds. And we said, yeah, we're going to give this a go. And it took 3 months. I was bedridden for 3 months. My mother took care of me every day, changed those bandages, put honey into the wound. We used homeopathic remedies. I was only allowed to live on like vegetables and salads, and no animals were allowed in the house. We kept that wound super clean. And 3 months later, I was back at school without having had surgery or skin grafts, and I have my big toe today, and it wiggles and it moves and it's healthy and it's fine. And that was definitely a lesson for me to go, oh wow, there's this whole world of healing and taking care of people that we haven't even entered. I didn't even know this exists. I'm just used to going to the doctor and getting getting an injection or getting some cortisone, getting some antibiotics. That's everything I knew. And now all of a sudden it was like, well, guess what? There's this entire world called homeopathy that you can go and investigate. And that was my beginning of my relationship with natural medicine and starting to investigate that. So, yeah.
That's phenomenal. I mean, I now have a deeper understanding around why when I see you share, you're so passionate about natural medicine and healing. And isn't it fascinating that like you go on this journey through your life and you it's like a door opens, and Marty opens the door to like natural medicine, and he looks inside, and it's like, holy shit, there's a whole reality that I don't know of. And now that I know of it, my reality is not the same as what it was in the Western medicine sense before. And that for me is just like, it's over and over and over again, certainly in my short experience so far, that like there's these beautiful doors that you can close if you want to as well. But like when you do open the door and you peep in, your whole reality changes, because it's like, what
Yeah.
did I just find? I just went through another door into another magical land, and now it makes my life more magical.
Yeah, just that willingness to look, though, is, I think, something we have to all, investigate. And I had an interesting discussion with a family member yesterday that left me a little bit triggered. I was like, we know we know so little about the human
Mm.
body. We know so little about God. We know so little about the world. We like, and I'm humbled constantly into just how stupid I am in terms of how much is there to know. We know so little. Like, we know nothing, nothing, nothing. I think that was one of my big wake ups. It was like, I don't
Mm.
know anything, but I'm willing to look at everything to try and figure that out. And like, having that discussion with my family member yesterday, who seems very much unwilling to look. I think that my loss of my best friend at a young
Mm.
age made me go, look at everything, like, and just investigate it. And then don't get too emotional about whether your side won the argument or not. Like, if you were wrong, you were wrong. You know?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just want to ask you something around that loss, and I'm so grateful that you are still here. When you suffered something like a loss like that, and an experience which took you on to the verge of death, your healing afterwards, was there a fundamental shift in the way you viewed life? I know you were
I,
only 15,
I,
right?
I always knew, I've always taken with me from that lesson that life can be taken from you like this. They're literally, you're
Mm.
playing in the garden with chocolate sticks, playing fights, and then your mate's dead right in front of you. And it could have been me. I mean, I
Yeah.
just popped back into my body and went, I've got work to do. And I don't think there's much I can do in terms of, like, when my ticket gets pulled, it's going to get pulled. I do think there's a man upstairs that says, your time's up, you're coming home. But to live in gratitude every day has been something that I've managed to take from that. Just go, like, last night, I lay in bed just before I went to sleep. I was like, oh, I'm so grateful for another day on this planet. Thank you. And I woke up this morning. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
one more day. I love this place. I'm
Yeah.
having the best time.
Yeah.
And that I
Yeah.
remember, after like a tumultuous time in my 30s, reading a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And
Mm.
in that, he speaks about the attitude of gratitude and how you can nurture it. And I didn't really understand it. And I started to, and I think the word is to inculcate, is to really breed a feeling of gratitude every time I ate a meal. So what I started was, after reading that book, I went, okay, maybe I must try this gratitude thing, see what it does for me. And I was like, okay, I'm eating a meal right now. Imagine somebody who is homeless, and we've got millions of them up the road, being given this meal. How grateful would they feel? And I started getting that sense of, like, oh, wow, I would be pretty grateful for this meal. And then I started saying,
Mm.
okay, before I eat anything, I will get the sense of, what would it be like for a beggar to receive this meal? How grateful would they be? And I started getting that sensation,
Mm.
which is what we learn about at the Vipassana. It's the sense of, like, oh, I got some sensations of gratitude. And I remember going, wow, I can get this feeling from breakfast, and then again at lunch, and then again at dinner. And then I started noticing how I would arrive at work and I go, I'm so grateful. And
Mm.
then I would arrive at home and I'd go, oh, I'm so grateful. And then I would lie in bed to go to bed and I go, oh, I'm so grateful. And it was like the gap between my little moments of gratitude got smaller and smaller and smaller. And almost then, the entire day was just filled with gratitude. And gratitude really does give you more of
Wow.
everything. Like you don't need more money. You don't need a bigger house. You don't need more pets. You don't need different lovers. Just be grateful for what you have here, now, right here. Done. And boom, your world just changes completely. So for me, that the sense of inculcating a sense of gratitude into my life and making it a daily practice. If I find I'm in a bad space, just quickly pull the lever and go, okay, what are you grateful for? And you go, okay, life's actually amazing. Like I'm a lucky human to be around. Very lucky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That shift in itself is everything, because a lot of the people that I get to work with, I know the people that you meet as well, clients, non-clients, right? Most of the world outside of us, Marty, are like trying to get somewhere, and like it's always like I'm not satisfied until that thing happens, that outcome, that experience. I'll be happy when. But it's living in that state of consciousness which creates so much turmoil and suffering, versus what you're saying. Like, yes, it was a practice, it was a book you read, and then you started to apply that to your daily life. But I genuinely see a grateful being when I connect with you, when I watch your videos, when I see you sharing with others. Like, you're grateful for this day. But you can meet people who like are not grateful for today because tomorrow is going to bring them what they want.
I had a profound meditation once where I really feel like I tapped into something far, far more intelligent than I am. And I was shown this cloud that would just devour
Mm.
everything. It was this massive black cloud, and it just kept on sucking and sucking and sucking. And then, in that state, I was like, wow, what is this? What am I observing here? And the word more came across my field of
Mm.
vision. And this showed me the energy of more, more, and how like, I was like, wow, what am I witnessing in my mind right now? And it was very clearly just a sense of like how empty an existence is with this energy in your life. And as I had a conversation with this thing that gave me a vision, it showed me, I said, well, what is this energy of more? And then the word more flipped over like this, and the word lack
Yeah.
appeared. And I was like, oh, wow, this is just insane. I was like, the more
It
you
is.
feel you need, you're in a state of lack, and you need to solve that problem, and then you won't need more. It was like, I need more money, I need more cars, I need more this. Where's it coming from? It's from lack. And what do you lack? Love,
Yeah.
self-love. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a profound moment, and that was a big one. So yeah, and how do you
How
fix
long
that? Just
ago
be
was
grateful.
that experience for you? That meditation, like how long ago in your life
Phew,
was that?
couple of years ago, maybe in another podcast we'll talk
Mm.
about plant medicines and experiences
Yeah.
with plant medicine, which also just completely poof, just opened up a whole new realm of like, do you know how stupid you are? Do you know how little you know about everything? Like there are universes available that you know nothing about. Nothing, 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 nothing.
Yeah.
And I was never one to speak of the presence of God. I've always been almost atheistic in my life. And the older I get,
Mm-hmm.
and the more work I do, the more I recognize there is an almighty God, a Father God looking over us and wanting us to remember Him and to go back to the ways that we were shown to live back in the day when they gave the commandments. And I feel this presence more
Mm.
and more and more, just going, oh wow, okay, like I've got to get my shit together and start preparing for when I go back. And that also isn't stuff I talk about too often because it can be quite polarizing. And I recognize that when I was
Sure.
young, I always used to have very different viewpoints on what everyone told me God is and how I'm supposed to be. I'd always be like, yeah, hold on, I'll figure it out myself. And I think I'm having experiences lately that are Once you start observing your own behavior and you start fixing your own behaviors, I think you start to access different dimensions of thought, and you start going, hold on a second, like I need to start preparing for when I do pass over one day. And when somebody says to you, were you a good boy? Because you're now going to reap what you sow. Make damn sure that answer is yes, I tried my best. Well, such a beautiful, maybe I'm rattling off here, but the most wonderful book I've read is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And in that, the one question is do your best, or the one command is do your best. At night when I go to bed, I say, God, thanks for a day. I really did try my best. I also try to be truly truthful there. And sometimes I go, I don't know if I tried my best today, but I'll try my best tomorrow. I'll try my best tomorrow. And I find just the more I involve God in my life, the more stable things are getting, the more successful I'm becoming, the happier I am, the more things seem to be flowing in life. Even though I'm going through a midlife crisis and I decided to grow my hair and buy a motorbike, and I'm going through all sorts of stuff. I feel like
I think you look 40, great.
Things start to change.
What bike did you buy? What bike is currently making you happy?
So I used to have a super bike back in the day, a long time ago. Only rode that on the track. Got rid of that, realized it's too dangerous, and then recently I bought myself an adventure bike. So I want to go. South Africa is just the most incredible country, and to be able to get on a motorbike and really just go and experience this place, all the sand roads that we have, and the touring that is available to us here is so crazy. It's awesome. So to do it safely on a motorbike is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I thought, well, let's go ahead and have a midlife crisis.
It sounds like an epic midlife crisis to me. So I hope you have tons of fun out there on your new bike. I look forward to seeing what it looks like and stories and stuff you're going to share. But be safe, of course. Martin,
it'll come.
Those listening to us, talking today, some who might think like, geez, these oaks speak a different language sometimes, but they may be interested, or some who might be like that Martin guy. I'm interested to know more about him. How can they connect with you? How can they come and experience your professional services? Maybe they just want to chat to you. Tell people how they can reach you.
So you can get hold of my clinic on balance.co.za. I have started a new company. Maybe we can even talk about that on another podcast one day. I'd love to, called docmarty.com. And there I sell medicinal mushrooms. Not psychedelic, but medicinal and functional mushrooms. You could get hold of me on docmarty.com. And I've got a Instagram page, Doc Marty Official, one word, which is the same one as my Telegram group, Doc Marty Official. So that's the handle on there. And on Telegram and Instagram, I share other things that I come in contact with. And obviously, I have to abide by the rules, Or on Facebook, Marting Krüger. And I'm sure we'll be able to tag me on your Potential is Human page.
Yeah, we absolutely will. So thank you for sharing the details. I'm going to try and extract a last bit of wisdom out of you and sharing from your heart here. Somebody who's listening, wanting to, understand their deeper purpose and really understand, what am I meant to be doing in this life, and how do I show up and actually live a fulfilled life? Knowing what you know, what would you tell this person? What advice could you give, or what would you share just to support them along the way?
First thing I would do is go buy a book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, the one I just mentioned. And I would start to really analyze my life and follow those four agreements. Be impeccable in your word, do your best, don't take things personally, and never make assumptions. And just observe, when you break one of those four rules, you will suffer. In some way or another, you'll suffer. And every time you're in a bad place, just sit there and go, okay, cool. Did I break one of the rules? And you go, oh, wow, today I made an assumption. You're like, interesting, I broke the rule there. Or if you somebody says something nasty to you and your emotions are hurting, you go, okay, hold on a sec, let me just stop you. Let me go to the 4 rules. Oh, I'm taking something personally. And that book is this thick, and the wisdom in that, and to apply it though, applying that is a game changer. It's a game changer. I would 1,000,000% start there, and then I would apply it. I recently saw a Facebook friend posting about how he's now read 50 books this year, but still up to the same rubbish that he's been up to his whole life and hasn't changed. It doesn't matter how many books you read, it's which ones you're applying. And I, from a personal journey perspective, I think there are podcasts called gnosticteachings.org. And the Gnostic teachings for me have been the most spectacular introspective journey into the original teachings of the Bible that I've ever encountered. And they have opened up for me Christian living, and that the philosophy that comes with it has completely opened my eyes to something I also, again, didn't know existed. And I must say, there the emphasis is always on ethics. And like, if you're suffering, self-reflect, look at your life and go, am I lying, cheating, stealing? Am I up to no good? Is there anything that I'm hiding from others? How can I change me, make my behavior better, and then just wait and see what happens? And I promise you, the outcome is always happiness.
Powerful. Let's highlight the 4 agreements, right? It's come up more than once in this podcast. Yeah. So the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah. Martin, thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Definitely need to have you back so we can talk about, your journey perhaps with plant medicine or plant teachers, as well as your mushrooms, your new business. So I look forward to our next discussion. And I just want to say, have a phenomenal day, and I appreciate you choosing to connect today. I'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you having me here. Thank you.